to them, it was probably really annoying. To me, I thought they were going in vogue. I was like, these are incredible photos. They were absolutely terrible. It's not something that comes naturally, and it is something that you have to work towards. And I think there's some people that maybe naturally have a little bit more of it and some people that don't. And I think, unfortunately, I'm just one of those people that don't really have it. So I don't often feel happy and I don't often feel at peace. But it's just kind of normal for me and I don't really mind. He looks like how you want, like, chef to look, you know? Yeah. But like, I don't think I did anything there. I think that was all him.
Elspeth Vincent, thank you so much for doing this. Incredibly grateful. I've been looking and following your LinkedIn avidly. I love your... Well, I don't think your pictures are fucking sick. They're so unique and different. And you've really crafted out your own style. And one of my sort of things in life is I love people who've got their own style and their own way of doing things. And then was reading all your posts and I was like, your story kind of, some of the things you were saying was really resonating with me. And then obviously I went for beers with Louis and the legend James last week, and that was when you just done their pictures. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh my god, these look sick. Like the I think Louis's got his
Louis was
he's got his long hands out, his long arms. He's
Louis
useful for something, isn't he?
Louis was on his hands and knees in a wife beater in the middle of Mare Street Market, repeatedly spilling a pint.
Did he have the wife beater on because he knew it was like a fashion shoot?
Yeah, he did it on purpose.
Oh, really?
No.
I bet he's
gonna kill me.
No. I can imagine him just being like, right, yeah, going to get my hair done by my German barber. He's got a German guy who goes around to do his bonnet, and then he get his wife beater on from Mare Street Market. So I saw all that, and then I was just like, reading your post, I was like, I want to hear your story, how you got into it. So I think where to start is describe the first memory that kind of bubbles up to your mind when you picked up a camera.
Oh, yeah.
And what were you like taking pictures of? And what was that? What did that do to you that made you think, fuck this? This is going to be my Elspeth's thing.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I got a camera, I always liked taking pictures, right? My grandparents were wedding photographers. I didn't really know much about that at the time. I'm from a small island. They were like small, tiny wedding photographers.
Where's the island?
Portland. It's on the southwest
of
Dorset. Yeah.
Oh,
England.
Fucking! I thought you were thinking like Portland in the States. Well, that's not an island. Is
no,
it?
I don't sound.
I was thinking the accent's gone. Wait, so Portland's? I don't even know that's a place.
Yeah, so it's like a 2x4 mile island in Dorset. Not the particularly nice part of Dorset, and so I was just chilling my little island childhood life.
Yeah.
My sister was doing photography at college, and I was like, she was doing all like time lapses of like the sky at night, you know, and it looks all cool and all the stars come out and they go in a circle. And like, she was doing a lot of like HDR landscapes and shit. And I was like, this is sick. Like, they look so cool. I'm going to get a little camera. I'm going to beg my mum and dad for a little digital camera at Christmas. So I got a little digital camera at Christmas, you know, like one that's literally like this big. It's like a Samsung, whatever, like Fujifilm maybe, I don't know. And I got one and I started taking pictures of my friends and putting on Facebook. Unfortunately, they're still probably all there, which is horrible to think about. And I'm locked out on my Facebook account, so God help me. But yeah, so I started taking photos every single day when I was probably like 10.
Right.
To put on my Facebook account of my friends. To them, it was probably really annoying. To me, I thought they were going in vogue. I was like, these are incredible photos. Like, I'm killing it right now. They were absolutely terrible. And from there, it just kind of grew and grew. Like, I got obsessed with this thing. Like, I was doing it every single day after school. Like, the only thing I did. I mean, like, at first, obviously, I couldn't really do anything with them. I didn't have a computer. Like, we had, like, the family computer, you know, back in those days. We just had one. So, like, it didn't have any editing software or anything. Like, so they just kind of went onto Facebook as they were. Then eventually, I guess I got a laptop when I was like 13, and I started, getting editing software. I used something called GIMP 2.
GIMP 2?
If anyone knows what that is.
That's jokes.
I'm sorry.
Who calls their software GIMP 2?
I know. And yeah, I started like playing around with like settings and like changing all the same stuff. And like, I actually kind of still edit my photos in pretty much the same way, which is really interesting when I think about it. And yeah, I started taking photos of like flowers and stuff and like my friends, but in a slightly more artsy way. And like, I eventually got a better camera, and I could like save up 50 quid and get a secondhand lens, and then I could make the background blurry because I had a better lens, and I taught myself how to use a camera properly. Probably by the time I was like 13, 14. So I was already like, I was doing it so fucking much. Like I was.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to. But what was because I have the same thing with writing. I can't really explain why I was pulled to it.
Yeah.
Like, because I have this thing, right? So if you line up 100 people, right, there's something that happens, whether it's you with photography, it could be someone with fucking ping pong or squash. There's something that pulls them to do something repetitively.
Yeah.
Like kind of that obsession piece, which I've got. But like, what was it about, you're putting these pictures on Facebook, your friends are thinking, fucking hell, you've seen your sister take pictures of whatever. But what was like, as you said, I was doing it so fucking much, like, what was making you do that?
I just liked it.
What was the feeling you got?
Fun.
Yeah,
man, it's fun. I like having fun. I'm quite like introverted. I'm not, the most social person. So I think it was just good to have something to do. I mean, before that, I've always been very artistic. Like I was always like very artsy fartsy. I was always like drawing pictures of like anime stuff. I'm really exposing myself right now.
What's anime stuff?
Like I was obsessed with, you know what anime is?
No.
Oh, like Japanese cartoons.
Is that like no, I don't mean that. Is that the porno stuff? The anime?
Well, not all of it.
I know, but like...
not when I was 12.
No, but that is what that is, right? That anime... I'm probably revealing too much of myself.
The subsection that you're thinking about actually has a slightly different name. But... Anyway,
so Japanese, like Pikachu and shit like that.
Yeah, I was drawing Pikachu. I was doing that kind of stuff. And I was also... I don't know. My love for like art and art history kind of grew at the same time as my love for photography. So they were both
interesting.
Back in these days, they were incredibly intertwined, and to be fair, they still are. So yeah, I just did it because I loved it. I just did it because it was fun, and I felt like I could do it, and it didn't feel, I didn't feel like I was bad at it. Which I probably felt like I was shit at everything else. So
yeah, that's so interesting. And then you said inextricably intertwined, the photography and the kind of the passion for the history of art. What were you learning in that period, or like what inspired you? And because I find those two things super interesting, like the artist and then the studying of the art. Like I'm obsessed with the Beatles. Fucking love the Beatles. There's a really good podcast about this guy who goes through all the old rock songs. Like he's based in Stoke or some shit. A bit random, yeah? It's like, well, this was the Beatles track. It's random as fuck. But he goes through all the Beatles songs that you think are super original. Like I'm trying to think of one, not like Hey Jude, because that is quite original. But and then he goes back to all the stuff they were listening to, which was all the blues music in like the 40s, 50s. And you're like, oh shit, the Beatles were inspired by something. So I love the sort of studying period of how they're studying the history of art, not in terms of the wanky university course, but their history of art. And then, that's how you create the Revolver album. Yeah. So then you're taking these pictures of your mates, developing your own style, getting good at it. But then, what's the landscape of learning this side?
So I think, like, when I was taking pictures of my mates and putting it on Facebook, I wasn't really thinking about any art history. I was, like, 11. I didn't really know what's going on.
Sure.
But I probably got into art history stuff when I was, like, 14. I think I must have been in, like, year 10 or year 11 when I got really into art, like I'd been drawing and shit before that, but I was drawing like Pikachu. At this point, I got into drawing like abstract shit that everyone hated. You know, I was like painting a piece of paper white and like getting an A for it because I could bullshit my way around it so
That's
well.
so jokes.
Like,
wait, so you paint?
But like the thing is, like, I was so wanky about it. Like, I really believed what bullshit I was saying.
So, do you know Rochelle Canteen in? There's a restaurant called Rochelle Canteen.
I've heard of it, yeah.
And then there's a restaurant called St. John. And
yeah, I'm going there tomorrow.
Oh, really?
I'm so excited.
It's banging. So Fergus Henderson St. John, his wife Margot, Rochelle Canteen in Shoreditch.
Yeah.
They're based like a power couple in food. I mean, St. John's fucking changed British food. Margot's done her own thing, Rochelle Canteen. It's a gorgeous restaurant. And one of the things we're talking about is like, why are artists so allured to St. John? Back to the white paper piece. I mean, St. John's all fucking white, and there's no music. It's just the clatter of knives and forks. She was like, well, all artists are great at selling their art. They're good at like bullshitting their art. And if you paint a fucking painting a piece of paper white. So how did you sort of sell that to the teacher and being like, look, it's a piece of paper, I've painted it white. Well, maybe not that voice, but
no, literally that voice. Honestly, I cannot remember what I said. Like, this is going back like 12 years. Ew. But I don't know. I just said some bullshit about, you know, like, oh, fuck knows. I can't fucking remember. It didn't mean shit. Like, I really do respect artists that do that, though. I do think it's funny. I think it's respectable. But, like, as long as they know deep down that it is funny, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think most artists have a really good sense of humor. Mm-hmm. But, like, they don't like to show it too much. I think especially in the past, like, you had to be pretty serious to be an artist. But if you actually look at a lot of their, like, journals and stuff, they were pretty fucking funny.
Such as?
I'd say, like, my personal favorite all-time artist, Rembrandt, was a funny fucking guy. He was so fucking stupid and funny, but he was so clever at the same time. Like, every piece of art was, like, mocking somebody, mocking something. He would do, like, a painting for someone that paid for it, and the whole thing would be, like, basically him kind of making fun of them.
Really?
Yeah. I can't give you an elaborate explanation right now, but yeah, he was really good at it. But yeah, he was a weird guy.
Yeah. And what was he painting, like presidents, or was he just painting like, was it just like aristocrats, or was it?
Yeah, I mean, this was like the 1600s. So
oh, fucking hell. Man. I thought it was like some, like, I didn't think it was that. I thought it was the whole Andy Warhol kind of vibe.
Oh,
I mean,
no,
that's
I'm going
probably
back.
So, going back. That's hilarious. What's the night 14? What did you say? 1400s?
1600s.
1600s. So what's that? Is that like? There's obviously kings and stuff like that.
It was, yeah. I mean,
I'm just thinking of 1066, the Battle of that, and then working my way back from that.
It was a lot of like, it was a lot of biblical paintings, but he kind of broke that trend. I'd say, like, around that time, a lot of what was happening was biblical paintings. He did a few of them, but he would paint them like really gory, or like show someone like with their leg cut off. Or if someone had a missing eye, he would paint their missing eye, right. You know, whereas usually you'd be expected to make someone who was like, say they were disabled in real life, they would be painted to be like able-bodied, usually. But Rembrandt like didn't do that. He just showed real life how it was. Yeah. And I've always found that like really interesting. I've always really respected that.
So Rembrandt.
Rembrandt.
Yeah. Who else was kind of? Because what I'm trying to do is I've seen your pictures like in the last year, right? I'm trying to work back of where this. So you've got this guy who's taking pictures of fucking gory legs and. Well,
he was painting them.
Painting
so camera technology was a bit basic back then. Yeah,
as I said, this isn't going to be in chronological order. So Rembrandt. Who else was kind of feeding or stoking your curiosity at that age?
I'd say this was around the time where I was obsessed with American Apparel. Like most teenage girls, that's a controversial statement to make these days because the founder of American Apparel turned out to be like either a nonce or like a sex pest or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, bad guy, bad guy. But created a really solid brand and had me in an absolute chokehold as a 15-year-old. Like, I wanted everything I wore to be American Apparel. That did not happen.
I used to get their like little zipper hoodies.
Yeah.
For a gathering, I'd go, man, I need a fucking zipper hoodie. Rock up with like
Tie it in a bow.
Yeah, tie it in a bow. I was like watching Skins and then
Yeah.
basically rocking up to a cheap. Do you remember Cook from Skins?
I didn't really watch Skins.
So I was obsessed with it. But I used to rock up to a cheeky gath with like 2 bottles of WKD and an American Apparel hoodie like that. I forgot about that brand. So you're looking at American Apparel.
American Apparel.
I want an Aperol Spritz. Fucking hell. Yeah, sorry, American Apparel, yeah? Apparel. I really struggle pronouncing things.
I'm going to cry. Yeah, I was obsessed with American Apparel, and they had a photographer that basically shot all of their campaigns, who was also a really bad person, sex pest, really bad person. However, unfortunately, really did inspire a lot of the way that I shoot. I really liked the visual imagery of that brand. Some of it was a step too far. Some of it was, overly sexual, but I really liked how different it looked to everything else I saw. I hadn't seen any brand do something that captured my attention in the way that did, because I'd never seen anything like it. And I think it was so far removed from how I was growing up and what I saw and, where I lived, that I was like, this is just so hot and sexy, and like, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
Not hot and sexy in the fact that like the girls in the photos and stuff and like the way it was shot was hot and sexy. It was just like captivating. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was like shiny and new. I'd never seen it.
Yeah. And that's kind of like when I saw your pictures, I was like, fucking hell, I've never seen anything like that. Like, it's so visually like palpably punches you from all different angles. I'm like, what the fuck? But in a good way. So then talk to me about your life on Portland. 2x4 mile place. Like, you're looking at this art, Rembrandt, American Apparel. Apparel, yeah. What was that like? And what was the journey from Portland to kind of getting into? What was that step?
So Portland, like, whatever. I mean, at the time, I didn't really have many thoughts on it. I didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
I was pretty keen by the time I was about.
Check that camera. Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah.
By the time I was about 15, 16, I was pretty keen to find a way to get out. I mean, I'd been on Tumblr for like 3 years, and I realized that like other places exist, and I'd seen, like, oh, like London looks cool, and like New York looks cool. Like, I'd love to go there one day. And I didn't spend a lot of like my teenage years in like actual reality. I spent most of it online. So I was like obsessed with Instagram at a time. And I was like, this is before the word influencer existed, but that's what I wanted to be. I was like, I'm going to be an influencer. Like, I want to be like, I want to be out there. I want to be like, I don't know. I just wanted some attention, I guess. I was an attention seeker for some reason, probably because I lived on a tiny island where like there was no one interesting. And I was like, here's my time to shine. So I was posting pictures of myself in my like wannabe American Apparel outfits, and I was getting a little bit of traction on Instagram, and I managed to build it up to like 50,000 followers, I'd
50?
say. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Which was quite a lot for the time.
This
was like 2015.
Yeah.
So like, that's where I was. I wasn't really living much in the real world. Like, if I was in the real world, it was so that I could go out and take photos and put them on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or go out and take photos and whatever, like for just to have. Like, at the time, I was still doing photography, but like, it wasn't really. I think it took a little bit of a backseat for like my iPhone photography that I was putting on Instagram,
Right.
like, but I was still taking photos all the time. Like, it was just in a slightly different way.
What were you taking photos of? Was it like obviously you now do like the portrait. I mean, I'm going to try and keep up with photography lingo here, mate. But so portraits, yeah, and then so portraits, lifestyles. What were you taking pictures of? What other stuff were you taking pictures of? Was it just people or like?
I was taking photos of everything.
Everything. Like, what were the weirdest shit you were taking pictures of? If you can remember.
I would like my boyfriend at the time. I would like get him to dip his hand in like white paint, and like I'd get him like holding it up here like this, and I'd be like.
Oh, so as the paint's like falling down?
Yeah, as the paint's like dribbling down, and I'd be like, let's do like white, like, you know, his white hand with white paint on it with a white background, and I'd be like, oh my God, it looks so cool. Yeah. And then I'd be like, let's do it, but with black paint and see how that looks. So, you know, I was doing all sorts of weird shit just to like, I don't know, I just thought it was cool. Like, let's be real, I thought I was the absolute shit back then. I thought I was, you know, doing groundbreaking art. You look back at it and you're like, oh my God, like, it's really bad. But no, I think I took photos of absolutely everything. I would go up to people on the street and take photos of them. I like, without asking, I would never do that now. I'm way too shy. But I was pretty ballsy, you know, I would do shit. Like, I didn't really care. I'd take photos of absolutely anything. And I think doing that for like 5 or 6 years kind of helped me refine it back down into what I like to do the most.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to get to is I love people who like work on their craft, like whether that's a chef or I was going to say plumber, but maybe not a plumber, but you know what I mean?
It could be cool.
Yeah. Let's fix your boiler, sweetheart. But people who are obsessed with their craft. So you're taking pictures of all sorts, ex-boyfriend's hand in white paint, your mates, people on the street.
Yeah.
How do you then? So you take the picture. Like, what's the refinement process? Like, how does that work? So, like, how are you getting better at it? Do you know what I mean?
I honestly think it's just that thing of like
reps. Or
yeah, reps. You know the 10,000 hours thing. You spend 10,000 hours at something, you're gonna get pretty good at it. You're gonna get better at it than someone that didn't spend that long doing it, probably.
Yeah.
I think that is what happened. Like, I don't know if I've spent 10,000 hours. I obviously didn't count them. But like, I think you don't notice it at the time. You know, you don't notice yourself getting better. It's not a conscious decision to stop taking photos of hands in paint and stuff like that. Your interest just changes. And then all of a sudden you don't want to take photos of that anymore. You want to take photos of like, I don't know, I want to do black and white pictures of like the marching band at the carnival, or like I want to go to the beach and like take a really close up photo of the sand, or like I want to go and take photos of the sea and like, yeah. So you're just following your curiosity. Yeah. Amazing. No, I rate people who do that because I think it can be, say what's in fashion, which say for example, it's American apparel, yeah. Apparel. I've been editing the Alora Spritz podcast, so apparel's on my brain. But you could just say, all right, fuck it, this is where the trend is. But I think being able to just follow that curiosity of like, right, I want to take pictures of shellfish or some shit, you know, whatever floats your boat, is super interesting. So you're in Portland, you've got this passion, you're taking pictures of all sorts, you're getting better. What is the route? I know we were saying before you hit record, you end up as like a receptionist. Mm-hmm. What was the path from where you got to the job that you're a bit like, oh, fuck this, and then before you jumped off the precipice to doing this full time? Yeah, I mean, that was like the weirdest time of my life for sure. And that's the time where shit got real, I would say, because, you know, I felt at the time like a big fish in a small pond at home because, I don't know, I thought I was the shit because I had a lot of Instagram followers and I was, you know, getting good grades in my A-levels with photography and art, and I was like, oh, I think I'm pretty good at this. And then I decided to go to uni to study photography. I didn't really want to study it, but I didn't really want to get a degree in it. But how come you didn't want to study it? Because I just didn't really see the point. Like, I wanted to just carry on what I was doing. I wanted to just, you know, carry on my own terms. But I really wanted to move to London. I just didn't know how else to do that because I was 17, and at the time I thought a student loan, you like didn't have to like pay it back. Because no one told me, and I was stupid. Like, I didn't know that it was something that like gets interest added onto it. I didn't even know what interest was. Like, yeah, so basically I went to uni so I could move to London.
Right.
And as soon as I moved, I was like, this is a bit different. Like, I loved London. I loved living, in a big city, and it was really cool. And I finally felt like I was like doing life, but I just felt like, oh wait, there's people my age that are actually, getting their photos in Vogue and shit. And I was like, oh, I'm literally nowhere near that. Like, I can take a photo. They weren't that good though. Like, they were okay. They weren't like...
As in your pictures or what was in Vogue?
My pictures.
Right.
The ones in Vogue were obviously really good. My pictures were...
So what's the difference? I asked some really dumb questions. What's the difference between, say that's a Vogue picture and that's your picture? What is that difference between your pictures at that time versus what's in Vogue? Because this sounds really... You're going to fucking want to kill me, but I just think it's it's just a picture, but like... Yeah, I'm going into this like a 2-year-old who doesn't really know much.
It's hard to like quantify it in words, I think.
Right.
But experience and taste, it's mainly, I'd say it's a taste thing. And I was very probably immature in my taste. I think I had the right intentions. I don't think I was executing very well. And I think my ego was really big. And I thought I was really good. And I don't think that was a very good recipe for moving to London and realizing that I was actually a lot further behind than a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
how would you say one, your taste was immature, and then how would the ego get in the way of that?
My taste was immature because I was 18 and very, very sheltered. I didn't know anyone that was really good at photography. I didn't know anyone that was taking photos and them going in magazines. Like, I could look at them online, but it's very different from like being able to speak to someone about it that's done it. And there wasn't really like podcasts and stuff at the time, so I could watch like an interview on YouTube or something, but people weren't very candid about it, I think. So yeah, it's hard to say, but mainly I was just really young. And that just leads you to not being as good as people that are older, or people that have grown up in a different area, not necessarily money-wise, but more like just with more exposure to stuff. Like if you grow up in a city, especially if you grew up in like London, you are sometimes just... you have access to stuff like that a little more.
Yeah.
Not all the time. I know not everyone grow up in London. You can like become a fashion photographer at 17. But you know what I mean? Like, if you're on an island and you don't know anything about the rest of the world, like, you don't really know what's going on.
It's such an interesting story. How do you think being on the island was actually an advantage in some respects?
I think it gave me a lot of time to research art and get really into that. And I think at the time, I probably didn't realize how much that would help me now in what I do. And I think that's probably the main thing. Also, like, it was beautiful and it gave me a lot of amazing things to take photos of. Like, I was right by the sea. There was a lot of cliffs. There was a lot of flowers, and like the landscape's really interesting, and it has a really interesting culture. Like, not a lot of culture, a very weird culture, but it does have...
Why is the culture weird?
It's a quarrying island. So
Quarrying.
So it's where you take stone out of the ground.
Right.
So, like, I don't know. That's just quite an interesting thing, right?
Like, I find this... have you... you're talking about Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 Hours.
Yeah.
He's also got another book called Outliers.
Yeah, I've read it.
Which is like, I think, that's when he talks about like the place where people were born and the luck of, again, back to the Beatles. I think he talks in that book, like the fact that both John Lennon and Paul McCartney's mum died at 15.
Oh, really?
Yeah, both their mums died at 15. Gave them a weird, unique bond, and I think the fact. So he talks about all these weird happenstances, what the fuck it is, that actually, when you look retrospectively, connect the dots backwards, you're like, oh shit, that makes sense. So the quarry island is really interesting. Is like I just see this in my head as this small kind of insular island with this girl with massive dreams who's kind of pouring her ambition and curiosity into this wacky art. Like, it's a fucking good story.
Yeah, it didn't really feel like it at the time, I guess. It doesn't really feel like it now, but that's nice to hear. But yeah, like, Portland's interesting. Portland is like, Portland stone is what, like, St. Paul's Cathedral is made out of. Those buildings behind you are Portland stone as well, out that window.
Right.
It's nice. It's reflecting a nice lot of light.
Yeah.
Onto us right now.
We should have the podcast out there. You're going to kill me with the light. Okay, amazing. So then what are, like, the people like in Portland, like, comparatively to London?
How do I say this nicely?
You can say it however you want.
Close-minded, maybe.
Close-minded.
And I knew that at the time, and I loved to bang on about it. I was really into that. I was like, everyone here is so close-minded. Like, everyone's...
I've got 50,000 followers.
Yeah, literally, like, I'm so much better. No.
Yeah, that's amazing. So then you get to London, and as you said, your taste was immature at the time. One, because of age. Two, because of lack of exposure.
Yeah.
When you get here and you're in the metropolis, what were you exposing yourself to that you think, again, connecting the dots backwards, was like, okay, now I'm getting to find my thing?
I found a lot of, like, indie magazines and stuff that I didn't know existed. You know, I found, like, all of these things that I just didn't know were there. Like, some were indie magazines, some were, like, big magazines that I just didn't know existed because they weren't sold on Portland and I hadn't come across them on Tumblr, like, that kind of thing. Like, I remember just going into Soho and going into, like, Wardour News, rest in peace. Don't know when it closed.
Wardour News?
It closed a long time ago. It was like a magazine shop that, like, it was like an offie, but it was, like, mainly just sold magazines, like really cool, like, fashion magazines and, like, indie music magazines.
Do you
and
like
stuff.
indie music?
I guess I did at the time. I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
for some reason the Klaxons came on when I was on the drive up and on the train up this morning. I was like,
for some reason the Klaxons came up on my own Spotify. I wonder who put that on.
No, genuinely, it was, you know, when you click on a song. Basically, I think I block party at Glastonbury.
Yeah.
And I was like, used to go to block party gigs. I went to one gig, not like on the reg, but. And I pressed that and it was like, you know, the famous helicopter, that song, I fucking love that song. And the next thing I know, I'm on the train and it's gone on to, like, you know, you do the...
It's like on radio or something.
Yeah, radio. Yeah. So I was picking all these songs. The next was like Two Door Cinema Club. And I heard Klaxons. I hadn't listened to it genuinely since I was like 20.
Yeah.
And I was like on the train, like I had my AirPods on, but I was like, and I think the old geezer next to me was like, what the fuck is this bloke on? But yeah, indie music's interesting because I think their pictures as well, that's got a real unique flavour and texture to the way, though, like, you know, when you say indie magazines, I know exactly what it is in my head.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So they were pulling you.
Yeah, I think so. But I was also still getting pulled by, like, the Vogues and the really polished stuff. Like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was freaking out, basically. I was like, oh, there's so much more than I thought existed of everything. Like, this is overwhelming and crazy. So I was doing photography at uni and I was like, you know, it, like, not to sound like an absolute, like, I'm going to sound like a horrible person again. Don't know how many times I've sounded bad on this podcast so far, but my course at uni let a lot of people in on an unconditional offer. And we somehow ended up with a class full of people that, like, no offense to everyone, but like we weren't very good. Like no one was very good at photography, and no one really cared about it either. Like I cared about it a lot, and there was a couple of us on the course that kind of like, you knew we were really hustling for it and we were really, really trying for it. But there was like, most of the people on my course were like, they didn't really care about it very much.
Really?
And it was like, why are you here? Like I came here with the hopes of like, you know, making this my whole like life.
Yeah.
Like I know I said I didn't really want to go to uni, but by the time I came around to it and did it, I was like, well, if I'm here, I'm going to absolutely send it. Like I'm going to absolutely give it my all. And I remember there was probably only like 4 of us in that class of like 30 or 20. I don't know how many people there was, but like everyone else was just a fucking dickhead, and they were just like, shit, no offense. They just weren't good.
Yeah.
And like, it's not like they were trying really hard and they weren't good. They weren't trying and they weren't good. Like, so it was like a weird environment to be in. Like I was just like, what's happening? Like I have so much drive and I have so much inspiration, but I feel like I can't do anything about it because I feel so like, I don't know. I was just confused. I was just so like all over the place. And it that carried on, I'd say, for like the first 2 years of my course. It was a 3-year course. I think I only really found my feet by the 3rd year.
How did you find your feet?
There was a girl in the year above me at uni called Hanina. She's a very famous photographer now, actually.
Hanina.
Yeah. Hanina.
Hanina. And what does she take photos of? Well, sorry, no, that's a bit crass, but like...
What does she take photos of?
Yeah, what does she take photos of?
She does like... she does massive campaigns. She does billboards. She does billboards for Pepsi. She does like... She did the latest Pepsi out-of-home campaign.
Sick.
Like she does that. She did like the extra campaign, like Wrigley's Extra, like any big campaign you see that looks amazing photography wise, probably Hanina did it. Like she did Doc Martens. Her work's like gone up in like Times Square and stuff.
That's mad. Yeah.
Yeah. So I met her. She was like asking around for someone to help assist her on jobs at uni, and I was like, yeah, like please let me in. Like I need to learn from someone. And she was smashing it even then. Like she was miles ahead of me. And this is like who I would compare myself to, people like her who were like just better than me. Like, and I say that like, I mean it. Like that's not me being humble. Like she was better than me. She had miles more experience than me. Like she just got it more. Like, and I was like, oh my God, like how can I get here? Like, how can I get here? I mean, I'm still not like that now, but like, I'm also not trying to be anymore. But yeah, so I started assisting Hanina and like just learning from her. And I think it kind of got me to a point where I really understood how a shoot works. And that sounds stupid, but like
how does a shoot work?
Like a professional studio shoot. Like I know what goes into it. I know that it's like, I know how many people are there. I know what the client is going to say. I know what prep goes into it. I know how to do studio lighting now. Like I know how to do studio lighting for like to make the background look nice and clean and white and the person all evenly lit and there's no shadows anywhere and it all looks amazing and glossy and shiny. Like I finally understood how to do it and I saw it in practice. And also Hanina had an amazing way of lighting stuff that was really unique to her. And it was interesting to see someone working in like a sort of signature style and that, like, which I'd always been really interested in throughout my art history stuff. Like I always liked people that worked in a style.
What's the way she would light a room up? Like not as in she walks in like all fucking
I mean, she does that as well. Yeah. She's a great person.
But as in the way she lights like the thing.
Her work is like, it's like evenly lit, but really bright and really like, it's hard to describe it like without, it's like got quite a lot of contrast and it's quite bright and but it's even. Like there's not a lot of shadow and there's not, I might be bullshitting. I don't know exactly what she's doing these days, but at this time, this is what she was doing. And it would just look good. And it's really hard to pinpoint it. Like sometimes you just don't really know why it looks great, but it always did. And she would like, the way that she'd interact with the models was really interesting. And I picked up on how to, you know, like direct a shoot a little bit better and direct a model to, you know, let them know what you want from them and how they should be posing and stuff like that. And like getting like a really nice movement in the shot. I still wasn't very good at it back then though. Like I was trying to pick up on it and my work was getting better. But like you look back on it now and you're like, yeah, it looks like not good. Like it hasn't stood the test of time kind of thing, if you know what I mean. Like I think with a really good photo, it looks good at the time you took it and then it will still look good in 5 years. Whereas with a lot of pictures that I look back on of my own work and sometimes other people's work, like if you look at I guess it's the same with like a campaign. Like if you look at it the day it came out and you're like, yeah, it looks good. And then you look at it again in 5 years and you're like, it looks very 2018 or whatever, you know?
Yeah, timeless. And I sound like an arty-farty, wanky guy here. But like timeless art is interesting. Like it's, I interviewed the founder of the Devonshire, the Booze of the Devonshire in Soho, like an unbelievable pub. And they've got loads of art in, they've got this, we did the podcast on a thing called The Green Room, which is basically splattered with art. Like not lit, like loads of pictures on the wall, yeah. And all the art was like felt really timeless, and then we started talking about timeless. Everyone's like, pardon the pun, like what's in vogue or what's on trend, and everyone's like, oh, what's the next trend going to be in the next 5 years? What's CBD going to do? What's fucking prebiotic soda going to do? It's like, well, what? And he was like, well, actually, what's timeless?
Yeah.
Like, what's not gonna, like Andy Warhol?
Yeah.
It's timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are other timeless pieces of art, do you think? Or like photos that are just like Vam. Sound German. Vam.
I don't know. I don't know how to like, I don't know what examples to give, but like, sometimes I don't think it's about it looking timeless. It's just about it still looking good. Like,
yeah.
I don't mind if you can, like, and I'm contradicting myself. I don't mind if you can tell that it was shot in like 2012, as long as it's really owning it. You know, I think is it clever? Is it confident? Is it holding its own? You know, like it's a feeling. I don't know how to explain it in my words.
Yeah. No, but still, it's I completely get where you're coming from. It's like even those artists were talking about block party klaxons, like it feels 2012.
Yeah.
American Apparel feels 2012.
Yeah.
But like it's still in some respects timeless, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're with Hanina. Yeah. And she's teaching you, I think what you said there about getting an artist to, or like a model to open up and be kind of, I find that interesting. I'm asking myself because a lot of the stuff we do where we kind of cross over is making people feel comfortable, helping them open up. Like how do you do that? And what did she teach you about that?
I don't know. Like it was more just like, I just watched, and I can't say any specifics that I picked up, and I probably only assisted her like between 5 and 10 times. Like it wasn't a lot. It was not something I was doing every day. Like, but it was just enough for me to learn what was going on and how I would be expected to be on a shoot. And to be honest, I'm the wrong person to ask about how to make someone feel comfortable on a shoot because I don't know how to do it. Apparent, like most of my feedback is that I felt really comfortable. I just don't know what I've done. I just don't know. Like I say that I learned that. I don't know how it happens. Like that's not me gatekeeping either. Like I genuinely just don't know. Like because I feel awkward sometimes. Like I said, I'm not very social. I'm very introverted, and most of the time when I'm meeting someone on a shoot for the first time, I feel a little bit shy. I feel a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think the thing is, though, I just start taking photos and they don't really have any time to think about it.
Yeah. No, it seems... one thing you've kind of... I'm picking up, like, is it seems like you're constantly set, and I relate to this a lot, is like, I'm not as good as that person, I'm not good enough, or I think it needs to be improved, I haven't done that yet. And I think I think I read a post you put up about freelancers and kind of like the insecure brain and like the kind of constant berating yourself that the work's not good enough. And I think there's a Seth Godin quote, which is like, the professional is hard on themselves, the amateur is kind to themselves. And it's like, if you want to get really good at something, you have to be relentlessly hard on yourself, because it forces you to get better. Like, some of your stuff that you've done, you should be kind to yourself. Because you've interviewed, not interviewed, taken pictures of all these fucking sick founders, been to LA, been to New York, like, got your own podcast. You should be kind to yourself. But like, how's your internal critic? Like, how do you, I'm asking this selfishly, begin to kind of temper that down a bit? Or do you?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't.
So you think, you look at your work and like, that shit?
Sometimes.
So how do you know when it's like, I'm trying to think of an example here. So I think the picture you took of Tom Straker, and did you do Toby as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both legends.
Yeah,
Super
they
sound.
are. I really like them.
Really like them. And so that I think both of them are pretty iconic pictures. Like, how did you get to a place where you were like, right, I'm happy with that? Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to, because I have this with this, so I put one of these out and I have to listen to it. I'm like, that is fucking awful. What are you doing? Like, you can't pronounce that.
I think a lot of the time when I get a photo that I like, I think it's more to do with the person in it than what I've done. So I really like that photo of Tom Straker as well. But it looks like, you don't look at that photo, or I don't look at that photo and think that's a really good photo. I look at that photo and I think, that looks like, he looks like a really interesting person, like, from that, I think.
Yeah.
Like, when I like my work, it's usually that I like about it. I like that they look so interesting, you know, when a person really looks like themselves, or they look, I don't know, they look just cool, or they look like, it catches your eye. Like that photo of Tom Straker, like, he's like staring out with a spoonful of butter, and he looks really pissed off, and he looks all like attitude, and he looks like how you want like chef to look, you know? Yeah. But like, I don't think I did anything there. I think that was all him.
But then how do you, again, you may not know the answers to these, I'm just asking out of sheer curiosity, like, how do you get them into because I think, again, we were talking about before we hit record, is like, you don't use too much kit, because otherwise people are like, oh my God, I'm on a fucking shoot.
Yeah.
Like, having kittens.
Yeah.
You said it's about getting the kind of, I think the other one, which is sick, is Rich from Moju. That picture looks so sick. Again, I like, because I've met both those people, I'm like, that is who they are. But I'm trying to get, how do you get them to be like, right?
I don't say much, and I think they feel awkward. And I think, I don't know. Like, with Tom Straker, like, it was very much, we didn't have that long. I had even less time, actually, with Rich from Moju. I think with Rich, I think I had 15 minutes, which was not long. And I was just like, okay, let's talk about Rich. Like, I thought they wanted something quite, you know, standard and professional, but I was kind of hoping to get something fun on that day. So I was like, oh, by the way, Rich, I brought my fisheye lens. And he was like, oh, that's sick. Like, it's going to look like Thrasher magazine or something. And I was like, yes. And that was just serendipity that he also was on my wavelength. So I just found a corner of the office that I thought looked good. They had like a little Moju vending machine or something. It was like a Moju fridge, like full of little Moju shots. And they had a big Moju sign above it. And I was like, that's going to look good. Like, there's a big red wall behind you. Or it was orange, but it looked red in the picture or something. But like, it looked sick. And I was like, all right, I just want to take some photos of you here and whatever. And I think we were referencing a different photo that I'd already taken for Mash Gang and Liquid Death. So I took a photo of the founder of Mash Gang, co-founder of Mash
what's
Gang.
his, because he listens to this podcast, and I've wanted to get him on, messaging about getting him on.
Are you
here.
talking about Jordan?
Yes.
That's my mentor.
Oh, really?
That's my best friend.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
I've been meaning to reach out to him for ages. I have corresponded with him on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And then it's just trying to get dot the I's, cross the T's.
He also lives in Wales. So I took a photo of co-founder of Mash Gang Alex Loveday at a beer festival holding a can of Mashgang Stoop and a can of Liquid Death. And like, it was like all spraying out the top of the cans. Like he was like squeezing the cans and they were both going crazy. And we were kind of referencing that. We wanted something with that like energy with Rich. And I don't know where it came from. I don't know if I said it or he said it, but he was like, he just chucked it. And I was like, okay, do that again, but like do a bigger face. I think that's all I said. And that's how we got the photo of him like with the mojo shot in the air and his mouth is open.
Yeah, but what I'm learning from you is it's like you get that one moment because you've done the 10,000 hours and you've taken all the pictures of the weird hands and the crabs and all that shit. So that when it's time to strike, it's like I mean, we're recording this after the Euros. Well, during the Euros, I'm going to go and watch the game after this. But do you like football?
I am watching it tonight.
You're kind of watching, yeah.
I haven't. I don't know anything. But
anyways,
I am going to watch it.
We're shit at penalties, but we absolutely fucking nailed penalty round last in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
And all of them were so confident. One bloke rocked up and just didn't even look at the ball. That's the sort of confidence he had, Ivan Toney. He just literally looked, say you're the goalkeeper, looked him straight in the eye and just like hoofed it like that. And it went straight into the back of the net. And at the end, they're like, yeah, we've done so many reps.
Yeah.
And I suppose that picture of that serendipitous moment of Straker or serendipitous moment of Rich is like, well, you've done the reps. So it's like, that's you taking the penalty. It's like, bang, I know what I'm doing. And I think it's reassuring for me because it's like, if I just keep doing the fucking reps of this, when it gets to a big podcast or someone really scary, it's like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm asking all these questions selfishly because I think there's a lot of parallels. So then talk to me about, so you said you were freaking out in London. You didn't find your feet until you were in year 3 of uni with Hanina and... What is it? Hanina. I'm so bad at pronouncing things, honestly. I don't know what's wrong with me. And so she sort of shows you how to do the picture stuff, photography.
Yeah.
And then how did you end up in WeWork as a receptionist? Because how did the dreams begin to kind of melt slightly, and how did you re-galvanize them?
Yeah, so I got to 3rd year of uni. I mean, I'd been working in retail throughout the whole thing, right? Like retail weekends, you know how it goes at uni.
Whereabouts?
Whistles.
Oh, yeah.
Fancy
my mum
clothes
loves that place.
for like 40-year-olds.
Yeah, well, my mum's a bit older than that, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
That gaff, I know the gaff.
Like 40 plus.
Yeah.
Some
dress from Whistles,
some
darling.
people younger than that like it, so I don't want to offend anyone, but it's, that was a general demographic. I was working there, and 3rd year came about. I was like, found my feet a little bit more, but I was very insecure. I wasn't, I don't think I'd ever been like that insecure in my work, in my life, like in myself, in my work, in like everything. I was also like 19, 20-year-old girl. Like, shit's hard. Like, shit is difficult. Like, you've got all sorts of things that people are telling you and like what you should look like and what you should be doing. And I wanted to be really successful, but like the more you like put pressure on yourself about not doing that, like I think the harder it is like to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to be an overachiever, but I absolutely was not overachieving. Like I was underachieving. Well, I say that, maybe I wasn't, but like I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. Like 3rd year came and went, whatever, uni's over. I need a job. I got a first, by the way, just want to flex that. I got a first.
Happy days.
Yeah, I really wanted that. I would have like been so fucking insufferable if I didn't get that.
I had the other fate.
No.
I was like, I'm getting first. There's no two ways about it. And there was this bloke I did all my uni with. We basically went round. He was like way cleverer than me. And I was like, I'm going to get first. I don't know why I had it in my head that I was like, same thing, insecure, dropped out of Bournemouth uni, went to Manchester uni. I was like, fuck you lot, I'm getting a first. Obviously, a bit natural thicko, so I had to work extra hard. Anyway, so I was delivering cheese around London.
Okay.
Yeah, when we were waiting for the university results. And I was like in this fucking van, like in Bermondsey, and my mate Ted texted me and he goes, yeah, I got first. And I was like, oh mate, do you mind just checking what I got? Because I was in the van. He goes, mate, sorry, It's a 2-1. I was like, fucking hell. Lit up a ciggy. I was like, for fuck's sake. But yeah, so I know I've but anyways, you got your first.
Yeah, thank fuck.
Which, yeah, flex that first all day long, bro. And yeah, so then what?
Then I was out in the open, you know? I was out in the world and I was like, shit, what do I do? Like, I loved photography, right? But I kind of didn't love it as much anymore. I still liked it, but uni...
How did it wane? How did your passion wane?
I don't like being told what to do, and I'd just spent like 3 years being told what to do at uni.
Yeah.
Like, what you should take pictures of, like, no, you have to do it this way, like, this is the brief, and I would fucking hate the brief. And that was that, and I was like, oh, well, if this is what it's gonna be like, if this is actually what it's gonna be like, I can't do that. And I know that, like, a lot of really successful commercial photographers are happy to do that. Like, they're not as stubborn as me. They don't have a fucking mental block. They're not like brain damaged or whatever is my problem. Like, I just can't fucking take instruction. So I was like, unfortunately, that's not gonna work. I'm not gonna be able to do it. But I was still like, ooh, what else am I gonna do? Like, so I was like, okay, well, maybe what I need to do is get like a job in an in-house creative team. Even though I knew I wouldn't enjoy that, because I'd done an internship at Mulberry in my 3rd year, and I hated it. And it was like Devil Wears Prada. And I was like...
What do you mean Devil Wears Prada?
Well, have you seen the movie?
No.
Well, then the reference isn't for you.
What about...
Everyone else will get it.
Yeah, for listeners. So when you say what was so heinous about it?
I mean, I was an unpaid intern doing 40 hours a week, also doing my uni work, also doing my whistles job, my retail job. So that was probably the main issue.
Right.
The second issue was that everyone was kind of mean. Like, everyone was kind of mean and not very nice. I just didn't like the vibes. I didn't like the industry very much. But I was like, maybe it's just that place. So I was like, I left uni, I genuinely applied for about 100 jobs in photography and in studios, in-house teams with fashion brands, big, small, whatever. I applied for everything on LinkedIn, on Indeed, anything I could find. I scoured websites for like jobs. I was pretty shit at applying. I wasn't very good at knowing what to write. Didn't really know how to get a job. I'd only ever worked in retail. So I didn't really know what to do there. Like, nothing on my course ever taught you how to like get a job, really. Even though they said it was an industry-focused course, it was really taught you how to be good at the job when you were doing it. It didn't teach you how to get the job. So I didn't hear back from any of them, and this was within like, I guess like a 4 or 5 month period. So I graduated in the summer, and then like December came around, and I was like, I'm still working in retail full time now. Like, that's all I do, and all I do is work there and then go to the pub. Like, I'm a geezer. Like, what am I doing? Like, why am I just going and drinking 7 pints every night? Like, it was fun, but like, I was like, wait a minute. Like, I'm not doing shit with my life. This carried on for years. Like, I didn't know. I just had no fucking clue what to do. Like, anytime I saw a job that looked good, I would apply for it. I wouldn't hear back. Eventually, I heard back from one. It was like my dream job. I really, really wanted it. I got an interview. I got a second interview. The night before my second interview, I was living on Whitechapel Road at the time. It's a very, very loud place to live, on the junction by the hospital and the pub. And I got like 2 hours of sleep the night before because there was like car alarms and ambulances and all sorts of bullshit going on. And I just absolutely, like, it went so bad. Like, the interview went terrible. And
who was it with and what went so bad about it?
It was with Whistles. The place I had been working with, I actually had a different job by this point. I was working as a receptionist at a co-working space. Uncommon, not WeWork. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Because I might want to bullshit on them. Oh, well, I don't care. Nothing they haven't heard. Yeah, it was with Whistles, and it was for a creative position on like the photo team. So they had a really small team. I think they had like 2 or 3 people on this team, and one of them was like getting a promotion or leaving or something. So they were hiring someone to fill their place, and it would be like the assistant that helps just organize everything and get everything going and whatever. Like pretty entry level role. They'd probably literally pay me like 22K or something ridiculous. But at the time I was like, woo, that sounds great. I'd never been paid anything more than that. So I was like, cool. And yeah, I didn't get it. And it really did one over on me. Like I just lost all hope in the world. Like
describe the feeling of losing hope?
I was just like, what? Like, you just feel like shit. Like, you just feel like nothing. Like, you're just like, I wasn't thinking about photography. I wasn't thinking about anything. Like, I was just like, I have no idea what to do. Like, I have no idea what I'm good at. Like, I don't feel like I'm good at anything. Like, this feeling lasted for like 2 years. Yeah. I just didn't really know what to do with my life for like 2 years. I was working at this co-working space for about 2 years. So this was between 2020 and 2022.
Well, that was a barrel of laughs with fucking COVID.
Yeah. I have that would be a whole different fucking story.
Yeah.
About that, because they fucking fucked me over big time. But I made it through.
How did they fuck you over?
They didn't pay me furlough.
Oh, God.
After they just hired me. So I'd quit to my other job.
Yeah.
I was due furlough, and they were like, you just joined slightly too late to qualify for furlough. But, like, you can't work. But also, like, don't quit. And I was like, well, no, like, that's not going to work out for us.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually I managed to get them to pay me. That was a whole fucking thing. That was a whole thing. But, yeah, I was working at this co-working space, and this is where it gets interesting. This is where it finally gets interesting after I've been talking for like 4 hours. Yeah, co-working space. There's a lot of founders there, right? There's a lot of people that are owning their own business at a co-working space. And I was chatting with all of them. I was, making friends with them. I was having bants with them. I hated the job, but it was quite fun to meet people that were interesting and people that actually liked what they were doing, which I hadn't really seen before. I hadn't seen that many people that were working and enjoying it. It was a pretty common theme for everyone I knew to hate their job. And then I met these people that didn't hate it. And I was like, okay, so they're either lying or they know something that I don't. I need to get to the bottom of it. So I just started asking them questions and just started like picking their brain a little bit, kind of without knowing it. And I was like, okay, maybe I want to start my own business.
Yeah.
Unrelated to photography. At this point, photography wasn't even a thought in the back of my head. I was like, so turned against it after getting rejected from that job. I was like, okay, well, I'm shit. And, photography is just not something I'm ever going to do. I was a little bit bitter. So yeah, I was like, okay, well, I'll start a business. I'll do something incredible. I was like reading biographies about Steve Jobs and shit. And I was like, well,
What were some of the ideas? Was it to go into fashion, or what was the?
Fuck knows, man. Fuck knows.
There was no you just kind of.
There were so many.
Yeah.
That most of them I can't remember. Then I had one ridiculous idea that I was gonna do with my friend who worked at the co-working space. Well, one of the members of the co-working space that I'd become friends with. He already had a recruitment business, and he was like, I actually really do want to start a second business. He would have been a really good person to go into business with because he knows what he's doing. And we were going to start some kind of because I hated my job so much, and I always hated HR, and I always thought company benefits were really shit. We were going to do something in that sort of world. We were going to, make employees' lives not quite so shit. So kind of like a rewards program. Very good. I didn't do that because I have no fucking interest in it. But at the time I was like, anything to get me out of this, this sounds cool. And I'll woo, how exciting. No, didn't happen. for one reason or another. And so, yeah, like, it just all kind of built up in the background, and I was hanging out with people that were founders. I was spending, honestly, most of my time around these people in work and out of work as well. So when you're surrounding yourself with people like that, you become like it, right? Like, what is it? You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. Fucking Marcus Aurelius or someone said it.
Yeah. You know, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
One of the great philosophers.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And it's interesting. Obviously, again, I spend a lot of time with founders. Fucking loads of time. I speak to them all the time. What do you think, if you could thread the needle through like founders as kind of a breed in of themselves? And I don't know the answer to this. I'm just teasing it out. It's like, what do you think? What's so unique about them? If you could pinpoint it to something.
I don't want to say something mean.
Go for it. Say what you fucking want. Yeah, I like people who say what they want to say.
You have to have a lot of self-belief. That's not mean. That's the truth, though. And I think you don't go down that path unless you have something that you think that has worth and you believe in enough to actually do it, because it's not easy for most people. For most people, it's a lot harder to start a business than it is to have a 9-to-5 job. And I think that was the main thread that I saw through everyone at this. Obviously, there was a few of them that were just there because, like, whatever, like, it was easy and they had a lot of money and they were just, like, doing it because that was what they could do and they didn't have to work a job. But for most people, and for all the people that I really liked spending a lot of time with, they all had a lot of self-belief and they all knew that they could do it, and that's the reason they were doing it. And I was like, oh, I don't really have that. Like, I'm here, like, shitting on myself 24/7.
Yeah. That's so interesting. So I am absolutely over the bloody moon that Big Fish, yes, Big Fish, the big dons of Challenger Food and Drink brand design. I mean, Perry is an absolute legend. He's designed every Challenger brand in your cupboard. Charlie Bigham's, Goo, Tyrrell's, Rana, Clipper Tea. The list is endless. And Big Fish are looking to speak to the next wave of Challenger Food and Drink brands who are a force for good. They're looking to invest in brands, and we've got this sick thing coming next year that you do not want to miss out on. If you want to speak to Big Fish, if you want to go to the Fish Bowl, drop me a DM and I can make it happen. North Star, get listed, say listed, and grow. Do you actually know your shopper? If you don't know your shopper, you're literally pissing and spunking money up the wall. Knowing your shopper is the secret weapon to unlock more grocery listings and more stores. But not knowing your shopper is literally like driving in the dark, hungover, without a sat-nav, in a thunderstorm, in February with 5 miles of petrol in the tank. But knowing your shopper is like having a sat-nav. A full tank of petrol. It's a glorious sunny day. You're listening to the Sugar Babes and you've got a fresh, hot pumpkin spice latte by your side. North Star Illuminator is the shopper map to the promised land of growth and success. It does 3 wonderful things for your brand. 1, make your marketing budget sweat. When you've got lucid, crystal clarity on exactly where each precious penny is going, you know how to drive loyalty with existing customers or even bring new shoppers into your brand. Numero 2, what's actually driving performance? Do you actually know why your sales are going up and down? You need to know, like, are you bringing new shoppers into the category? Is that driving growth? Are loyal customers buying more of your brand? Are shoppers switching in and out of your brand versus other brands? I mean, Perfect Head's a glorious example. They are bringing new shoppers in to sports and energy. They are so incremental versus, say, chocolate bars, where people just switch in and out of brands all the time. The more you know this, the more oomph you've got with your buyer when you go to do a marketing plan, a joint business plan with retailers. The buyers want to know how incremental you are to the category. That is your passport to success. North Star is your passport. And what you can do is you can literally see it by channel, by retailer, get so specific. If you're looking to go to the next level, honestly, get in touch with North Star and go to the promised land. MKJ Ignite are a team of experienced recruiters who specialize in the challenger brand space. They recruit for over 50 brands, ranging from pre-revenue startups right through to some award-winning brands such as Real Superfoods and Purdy and Fig. They recruit across all levels and all functions. So whether you're looking for a new salesperson, a new marketing whiz, or an ops guru, MKJ Ignite have got you covered. They're bloody good at what they do, trust me. So if you're looking to hire or you're looking for a new role, get in touch with MKJ Ignite. They won't let you down. Are you looking to turbocharge your brand, take it to another level, save money, save energy, save stress, save time? Well, I've got the perfect thing for you. I am delighted to announce that HC Brands, formerly HC Consulting, my boy Harry Clark, has just launched a commercial growth accelerator program designed specifically for challenger food and drink brands. You can upskill your commercial team. They've got so many modules, you can handpick them, we can do the full shebang. You're gonna save hours of research, you're gonna get the tools to turbocharge your growth, get better clarity on your brand's objectives and directions. And look, Harry's worked with some amazing brands, Holy Moly, Islands, Savile, and Rooted Drinks. He's really helped me with a strategy for Hungry. Yeah, if you're looking to turbocharge your brand, link in the show notes, and you're gonna be able to do that easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So I think you need, and this is what from people I've spoken to, is I interviewed a guy. So you need self-belief, and you almost need some sort of like bitterness or setback.
Yeah.
I had that a lot. People just saying you're not good enough. I'm actually fucking weirdly addicted to people saying you can't do that. Like, and I'm like, okay, come on, son, let's go.
Yeah.
You said I had bitterness towards whistles.
Yeah.
Losing my voice. I had bitterness, but all this bitterness to not being as good as Hanina, whatever her name is.
I'm not bitter with Hanina.
But like, as in, I'm not saying bitterness, but like, there's always this. That's not bitterness. That's that I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And I always think founders, and it's different levels for each person, but they often, and it's not. This is a blanket statement, so I'm generalizing massively here, but you have a huge amount of self-belief and a huge amount, or a healthy amount, of someone told me at one point I wasn't good enough. And a guy interviewed this guy called Charlie McVeigh who built like 8 or 9 pubs and then sold it to Brewdog. Really interesting guy. And he says it's the Messiah versus imposter complex. And I've got that. So 1 minute I'm like, I can literally go, mate, I can walk through that wall, piece of piss. The next minute I'm like, who am I to be doing this?
Yeah.
This is all going to Pete Tong. This is good. And I felt like it feels like you've got elements of those, but it feels like you were saying that you didn't have self-belief. You were in this co-working space, and then suddenly you're with these 5 founders, average of Marcus Aurelius quote, whatever, that they give you that self-belief. And then, so how did that begin to sort of change? Because it feels like now you've built this, that what you're doing now, so the self-belief from those founders rubbed off on you.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah. And then I think what really pushed me to the next thing was some bitterness, actually, at ex-boyfriend, I guess. A guy I was seeing, shall we say. And I don't know what, like, he just pissed me off so much, and I just wanted to, like, be better than him.
How did he piss you off?
Because he was an idiot. I won't go into details of that. But yeah, he was a bad person. I'm happy to say that on air. No, I don't think anyone knows who he is.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll keep that off air.
Yeah. He was a bad person, but like, yeah, I just wanted to prove myself, I guess, and become better. Let's not have any of that in, because I seriously can't sound like that, but it is true. But basically, one thing led to another, and I quit my job and moved to New York.
Right.
For 3 months, because I wanted to get out of London. I wanted to get out of where I was. I wanted a challenge. I wanted to be somewhere new. I had spent the last 6 months reading self-development books. Woo! What an interesting thing to do.
What were you reading?
All of them. All of them. What wasn't I reading? What was I reading? That's a great question. I was reading books about, like, emotional intelligence. I was reading, like... God, name a self-development book. I can't think of any right now.
I can't think of any.
But, like, all the big ones.
Yeah, there's one I read which was Tony Robbins, who's the he's the guy who's like, let's fucking smile and
I can't go near Tony Robbins. That was too much for me.
Yeah. He's like, awaken the giant within, brother.
No, not
brother,
me.
awaken the giant within. And I was probably 19 when I was in this. I was like, awaken the giant within. Wake up, you little fucker. Yeah. But that's probably the only one. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a load of waffle, that bollocks. Like, I think the way to get self-development is to actually do shit. You can't read a book. Personally, that's what I think. I think you get self-development from autobiographies.
Yes.
Because then you're like, you know, and obviously Tony Robbins he's done a lot of interesting things, but a lot of them are peddling the same kind of whiffy nonsense. Whereas, okay, I want to learn how Steve Jobs got through, you know, his computer crashing, for example.
He went for a bit more than that, actually.
Yeah,
but
I'm joking.
No.
He rebooted it. But so you're reading all these books.
Yeah.
Fuck off to New York.
For me, the books were very, very important because I was actually such an idiot. Like, I can't stress how stupid I was. I can't stress how like underdeveloped and fucking smooth my brain was. I was smooth-brained as shit. Like, I was very reactive. I wasn't good at handling my emotions. I was not good at, like, just staying calm and, like, not blowing everything out of proportion. So I needed books to tell me, like, okay, don't be a fucking idiot right now. Like, it's okay. Like, just don't get angry because someone said this to you, and like, just because things aren't going your way, like, don't fucking go insane. Because I actually needed someone to tell me that, because it didn't come naturally. So I read. When
you said you were going insane, like, if things weren't going your way.
I mean, not really. That was just me exaggerating. I just didn't like it, you know.
Yeah, that was the bitterness part, right?
Yeah. So basically, what helped was like, I sound like a fucking bro. Reading books on stoicism.
I love stoicism.
Yeah, I know, and it's just such a bro thing, right? Like,
I don't know. What do you mean by bro? No, I think it's like there's a book called oh my god, The Handbook of Stoicism. Great read. Fucker goes through everything, right?
Yeah.
It does all the hard work for you. It's one book. You got Seneca, Marcus Aurelius.
God, the rest of them.
Have you heard of that Montague guy? Montague.
Yeah.
He's got some really good quotes. But there's a book called The Handbook of Stoicism, and basically it's all there, right? Chapter 1, anger. The fucker does everything for you.
Yeah.
Chapter 2, fear. Does it all for you. Oh, get that book. It will change your life.
I was basically... The book I was reading sounds very similar to that. I was reading A Guide to the Good Life, which is basically that by a different author, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And it absolutely changed my life. Like, I went from feeling like, when I say I felt insane, I felt helpless. I felt like everything in my life was out of my control. And then obviously the whole point, like the main point that Stoicism makes is that there's two things in the world. It's things that you can control and things that you can't. And the things that you can't control them. So don't pay attention to them. And then just focus on the things that you can control and be very intentional about it. And that's how I managed to slowly start making actual decisions myself rather than just being swept along by whatever happened to me.
I don't know where the podcast was the other day, but the guy said kind of a maxim is to accept you control nothing, but you influence everything.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna have to get that tattooed on there. But like, I was like, fuck
in Chinese.
That. Yeah. It's like feng shui, baby. But that I think that's the thing. So you accept that you can't control so much, but then you have the agency and the cojones to say, fuck it, I can influence this. I can influence what I'm trying to do. So you go to New York, and that place is wild. Like, what happens there?
Not much. So I went to New York. Why? Fuck knows. I just wanted to do something.
Yeah.
I was unemployed. Like, I didn't have a job. I started a podcast like a week before I went or something, called I Wish I Was You, which I don't do anymore. I did it for about 8 months. And it was basically a guise to be able to speak to people that had their shit together so that I could potentially, climb out of the little hellhole that I was living in of not knowing what to do with my life. Like, it was really all consuming. Like, it was it was really scary for me at the time because I was 24 and I was like, obviously as most 24-year-olds think, I was like, God, I'm getting old.
Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm really getting on. Like I was meant to be like a millionaire by now. What's happening? Like I need to really, really get my ass in gear right now. So started speaking to people on that. Whoever I could find, really, whoever I thought looked cool. Most of them were founders of businesses. Some of them weren't, but most of them were. All sorts of different businesses, but mainly creative businesses, because obviously that's just naturally where my interests have always lie. So I was doing that in New York, and this is around the time I started posting on LinkedIn. Woo, what a time to be alive. And I kind of just did a LinkedIn post like, hi guys, I just quit my job and I'm going to New York and I don't have any money now. So like, if anyone has any odd jobs you want me to do, like this is what I can do. I can like help you produce your podcast, or I could like do some copywriting for you maybe. Actually, I didn't even say about copywriting because I didn't even know what that was. But I ended up doing some copywriting from that post because apparently the writing was good. Which it wasn't, but yeah. So I think 2 people reached out to me. Someone was like, can you produce my podcast? And one person was like, can you do some copywriting? So throughout the summer, I did those 2 things. I think I made like 500 quid a month. Luckily, I was staying with a friend for free in New York, and all I had to pay for was like food, and I'd saved up a little bit over the last few years somehow. So I think I had like £3,000 in my bank account.
Which in New York's fucking that will go.
I didn't
nowhere.
do anything. No, yeah. I didn't do anything. I didn't go out for dinner. I didn't luckily I didn't have any friends there apart from the one I was staying with, and she was unwell most of the summer. So like,
sounds like a great trip.
Do you know what? As I said, I'm introverted. I like being by myself, and I really needed a lot of time by myself as well because I needed to get comfortable with it. And I liked being by myself, but I also struggled with feeling lonely. So I kind of wanted to force myself to just kind of like go the girl version of like monk mode and just like see what I like doing and what happens to me when I'm not seeing other people, you know, like when I'm not influenced by anyone else. How does my brain work? Like, what am I doing? Like, I feel like I was always being swayed by other people, and I've always been influenced by other people to a really high degree, and I just wanted to see what it's like when it's just me. So I spent most of the summer just walking around Manhattan and writing really shitty poetry in a little book and reading and listening to music, and that's it. And that's all I really did for like 2 months. And I did a little bit of copywriting and bullshit like that.
And so you go into girl monk mode.
Yeah.
In Manhattan.
Yeah.
You're walking around Manhattan. You said you needed time alone. You needed to understand how you could be on your own.
Yeah, what a wanker.
No, not at all. You need to stop being so harsh on yourself. Fuck me. Jesus Christ. I thought I was bad. I can hear it in your thing. I'm like, I wasn't good at that. I wasn't good at that. Fucking hell. What, in that sort of solidarity period, what changed when you kind of came out of the Manhattan cocoon? I was going to say, how did you blossom into a butterfly? But
thanks. Do you know what? I came home and I was like, nothing's happened. You know, at a time I felt absolutely nothing's happened. And by this point, I had no money. I was, it was like the last day of my trip, and I was like, I have nowhere to live in London. I had to get on Spare Room and be like, I need a flat. Like, I need a flat. I managed to get a flat living with some like fucking like city warrior lad in Fulham.
Oh God.
For like 800.
Whereabouts in Fulham? I used to live in Fulham. Whereabouts in Fulham?
Near Putney Bridge.
Yeah. I was on Durand Road.
I can't remember where I was.
Yeah.
Burlington Place. Sounds fancy. It was not.
Yeah.
Actually, it was obviously fancy. It was Fulham, but you know what I mean. It wasn't like
Fulham. I find Fulham such a dead place.
It was not. It was the worst place I've ever lived. Anyway, I managed to get that place. I moved in from Heathrow Airport with my suitcase from New York, and I was like, cool. I live here now. Like, this is my home. I'd never met this man.
Didn't you say on LinkedIn one of the blokes living there like a GAC problem or something like that?
that was probably just me being
Right.
quite mean.
Okay.
Well,
right.
he did a lot of like parties. Obviously, he was on drugs. Like,
Yeah.
He was clearly taking. I would
This
say.
is the kind of Wolf of Wall Street bloke, or wannabe.
Well, he would love that.
Yeah.
I don't think he was quite on that route. But...
Yeah, but I'll say wannabe.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a bloke when I was walking in here today, and I came out of Bank Station, and he had, he literally, I walked across, like, he had his suit on, it was great, it was fucking raining, yeah? He had his sunglasses on, he was like that. I was like literally looking at him like, this is a joke. I was like, this is actually real.
Do you know what?
He was like walking like that, like, I was like, it's like you've literally.
Oh, it's making me like physically cringe.
Yeah, oh my god, I was literally laughing. I was like, what the actual fuck? It was like, yeah, his sunnies on. He's like, yeah, mate, going to Salad Project. Yes, I know the type. But yeah, so anyway, so you're living with this bloke in Fulham.
Yeah, just hating my life right now.
Yeah.
Potentially one of the lowest moments of my life. I keep saying that, but like it got quite bad before it got good.
It always does, yeah.
Like shit got pretty real at this point because I had no money, you know.
Yeah.
I had no money. I hadn't earned any real money since like June, which was the last month at my job. And I was earning 24K then. So even that, like, you don't get very fucking much from it. So yeah, I'd been in New York. Obviously, I'd been living pretty on a very tight budget, but you still have to buy shit. Like, you still do have to spend some money. So I had like $1,000 to my name. My rent was 800 quid. Luckily, bills were included. It didn't take long for me to actually have no money, like at all. And I was like, right, I need to fucking figure this out. And it's not even a joke now. Like, I don't have any money.
What year was this?
2022,
So,
autumn.
Fuck, recently then.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Okay, so then what do you do to, climb out of, I think you said hellhole earlier. Like, how do you climb out the hellhole? And
how do you climb out the
Yeah.
hellhole? Really, really good question. I didn't know at the time. It just kind of happened. I was just forced. I was literally just forced to. And I was like, I just sat down. I spoke to some people about it. I was like, I just don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. And they were like, you need to think about what you're good at and what you love doing and what you can make money from. So I guess like Ikigai, if you want to go.
I was literally about to say that. Yeah,
I don't want to fucking chat about that. Sorry, no offense, everyone.
Yeah. My mate's just reading it, and he got a fucking tofu ramen from Wagwammas the other night. I was like, leave out, mate. Come on. You read that Ikigai book?
Yeah,
And I was like
I never
he's doing
really
cold
like.
plunges at the David Lloyd. I was like, come on,
I will
son.
say like, looking back, that's what I was
There's
doing.
a truism in that, and you are doing that though.
But I didn't really, I didn't sit and read a book about it. I didn't need to like really think about what I was doing about it. I just thought, all right, what am I good at? What am I blah, blah, blah. And I asked my mates, I was like, what am I good at? And they were like, oh, you're really good at doing your podcast, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool.
Why didn't you want to pursue the podcast? What was the, because I remember you said like, what was...
I didn't like it enough.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't enjoy doing it.
What did you enjoy doing about it?
I didn't hate doing it.
Yeah.
It just didn't like set my soul on fire, you know, and that's what I want to be doing with my life. I cannot stand doing things that do not bring me like an immense passionate joy. Like I need that in everything I do. I need that every single day. Otherwise I am depressed.
I'm the same. So I'm the same. Like
So-
I literally, but that's what I'm asking. To me, this sets
Yeah.
my soul. Obviously,
It's
there's
just
a lot
how
of
people are.
A lot of fucking, the editing is long as fuck. But like, well, I don't really edit much. But like all the whiffy shit around the
Yeah.
other side, that is long.
Yeah.
But this bit, this sets my soul on fire.
Yeah.
Like the conversation, the meeting people, So I don't. Yeah, what I'm trying to understand is, so you just didn't enjoy that as
It just
much.
wasn't for me.
Interesting.
It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I was asking all my friends and family, what am I good at? What am I good at? No one said photography.
That's crazy.
No one said it. And I was like, the way my brain works is that if I've been told to do something, I'll do the opposite. Or if I haven't been, if someone's, do you know what I mean? Like I'm just a pain in the ass, basically. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to do photography then, seeing as no one thinks I'm any fucking good at it.
Yeah.
Here's your point again, right? Like, everyone thinks I'm shit. I need to fucking prove them wrong. And then they were like, oh my God, you can't do that. Like, how are you going to do that? Like, you're already broke as shit. Well, they didn't actually know that at the time, because obviously I'm not going to tell anyone, because I've got big pride and it would hurt me a lot. Obviously, eventually I had to tell them I was broke, because I couldn't fucking go out and do anything with my friends because I had no money. But yeah, I was like, okay, got on LinkedIn. Hi guys, like I'm a photographer now. Here's like a picture that I took. Let me know if you want me to take some photos of you and your company for free. I just need to like get some experience right now, and I need to get like a portfolio together. Obviously I had a lot of experience, but this is different. I need to make a living out of it now. So I was broke and I was working for free. And I see a lot of people shitting on working for free and saying that you should never do it. I couldn't agree less. I think if I hadn't done a shoot for free, I would not have got anywhere. Like, I would not have managed to get my first clients that basically paid my rent most months. There was a couple of months where I skipped it.
Fuck it.
Declan came for me eventually.
So you're fueled by passion at this point. As you said, you feel a bit
I'm
depressed if you're not doing what's...
I was fueled by an absolute dire need to do something, and an absolute refusal to do something that I didn't want to do.
Yeah. That's exactly the same as me. And actually the bit you said about you get depressed doing things if it don't, like, it's so interesting, because it's like, so today, like, there's some days when you can just work and like it just, but I'm like, today will be one of those days where it's like hours and hours and hours without even realizing it. But then, like, if I'm doing something menial, I'm just like, I go literally nuts. I'm like, fucking fuck this. Like, oh my God. But it's just interesting how you, And then, so you've doubted yourself a lot, like way too much, because you're absolutely smashing it, in my opinion. Are you better? Have you got a better relationship with yourself now? Or are you still fueled by some bitterness, some passion?
I'd say it's easier now because I'm more financially stable. That's why it's easier.
Yeah.
But I still... I'd be lying if I was like, oh, I think I'm doing good. I don't think I'm doing good. I think I'm nowhere near where I want to be.
Where do you want to be?
I don't know, but not where I am now.
That's so interesting. How did you find pricing yourself with the imposter syndrome? Again, I've got that issue as well.
So,
and obviously that I like people pleasing, so I'm like, I want everyone to be happy, you know. So it's like whereas now I'm trying to be a bit more bolshy with it and be like trying to see myself as separate from it.
Yeah. Pricing was something that I struggled with a lot for the first 8 months.
Yeah.
I think I was charging
£2, not joking.
like £100 or something for a shoot, which was, and that's
like, for the full shebang, yeah?
Yeah, that was like editing. You got loads of photos for it. All my clients now are going to be like, fuck, where was I then?
Fuck it, you got to charge what
like,
you're worth.
That's really what I was charging. And in order to make, well, just think about how many people I would need to be taking photos of to even make like $1,000 a month. Like, that was a lot of work, and it just wasn't promoting quality, right? If something's that cheap, why would you expect it to be good? Like, that's way too cheap for any sort of quality for it. So I spoke to a few friends that I'd made along the way through like LinkedIn and stuff, and through posting. Like, obviously I was charging not a lot, so I wasn't making much money, but I was actually shooting relatively often. So I was working, I just could never make enough money because I wasn't charging enough.
Yeah.
No matter how much I did it, like, I'd have to be working 24 hours a day to make enough money to, like, for it to be, you know, properly
a thing.
Yeah. So I spoke to a few friends. I spoke to a good man you will know of called Hugh Thomas. You know Hugh?
Yeah. I'm having a massive brain blank.
He did ugly drinks and now he does top of the morning coffee.
Yes.
And Hugh was basically like, you need to put your work into packages. Like, you need to package up what you're doing into like 2 or 3 packages that founders can look at and go, I want that one. Obviously, he's a founder.
I want that one.
I want that one.
Little Britain. I want that one.
Exactly, as most founders, you know,
that one,
that's
mate.
what they're all like anyway. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, that's
Oh my
jokes.
God.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and he was like, he's a founder. He knows how it works.
Yeah.
Like, he knows what their brains are like. I'd spent a lot of time around them, but I hadn't been one yet, really. So like, I was like, okay, yeah, you're talking sense. And he was like, also your prices are just insane. Like,
Insanely cheap.
insanely low. Like, he said I should like triple them. He was like, you should be charging so much more than that. And I was like, I absolutely cannot. Like, I am in such a desperate need for money. Like, I can't risk it being too high and not making any. Like, at this time, Declan had come, I just moved out of Declan's house, thank God. I moved into a new flat and Declan came chasing me for all the rent I'd missed. So I just saved up a little bit of money and I had to give it all back to Declan. So we're about 1 year ago from today and I probably had about £15 to my name.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I've really been through it, man. Like, recently. But yeah, Hugh was like, fucking put your prices up. But when you speak to people that have money and they say shit like that, you're like, okay, that's so easy for you to say. But like, why should I believe you? Like, can you even remember what it's like to have?
Also,
like,
I feel like there's a bit of guilt when you're trying to monetize your passion.
yeah.
That's what I've had. And now I'm trying to sort of see it as Hungry is a media company.
Yeah.
And so you're just, and I don't know, I'm asking this selfishly. It's like, almost like, well, it's just tricky because your name's like on the front door, quite literally. But I think that having that separation from you, the work is what you're paying for. And I don't know if that's helped. Being the CEO of your own work. You know, Ryan Holiday, Stoic geezer. He's got a great book called Perennial Seller.
Oh, I haven't read that one.
You need to read that.
I've read a lot of his other ones.
Yeah, Perennial Seller is like a random book he wrote about like what makes great art.
You
and
know,
like
Ryan Holiday used to work at American Apparel.
Yeah, he was the marketing director.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't even know it. He was my icon.
Yeah, he's a G. Absolute G. And he was saying that, there's a part in that book that he says, like, be the CEO of your own work. And, like, so you're not, like, because I always felt like I'm my passion. Oh, I can't charge much for my passion. But it's actually, no, it's the value you're giving. I don't know how you've kind of worked with that.
I don't know if I had that problem, to be completely honest, but I definitely had a problem about, like, not thinking it was good enough to charge a lot of money for it, and also just having absolutely no idea what was normal to charge for it, because for some reason I had an absolute aversion to looking at what other people were doing. Like,
why?
In the first year of doing this, I didn't look at any other photographers' work because I was so prone to comparing myself to it in a really negative way. So I just didn't look at it. So I just built everything how I thought it would be good and just hoped it worked.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it was an all right way of doing it, because now I don't think most of the time, according to my clients that I've worked with, I don't get compared to other people now. You know, like, when I ask, I usually don't hear like, oh, we were weighing you up against this photographer.
Yeah, you've got this the thing is, what I said at the beginning is have your own style. And that's what I'm trying to learn from you, and I am learning from you. Is this like?
Have you learned anything?
Yeah, no. I'm loving this. Honestly, it's yeah. I think comparisons to Thief of Joy is another. I should just be pulling Stoic quotes up my arse today, but it is.
Yeah.
I don't know which one said it. There's so many fucking Stoics, but it's really interesting how. Yeah, you weren't comparing yourself to others. That forged your own style. But then when it came to monetizing that style, you didn't have a benchmark of like, well, hang on, how am I pricing myself? Yeah, it's an interesting kind of paradox, that.
Yeah, so I just had to ask, like, Hugh and Jordan from Mash Gang, who became my mentor like a little bit after this, but we were chatting as friends because he was one of my first clients. And yeah, just came to a conclusion on what I should do about it. And then I started charging 300 quid or something, or like, no, maybe 200 quid per shoot or something. But it was like, and this is how many photos you get for that, rather than it being like, I don't know, like, oh, you can have an extra few or whatever. Like, no, like you get this many pictures, you get 3 images. It's 250 quid or whatever I put, I can't remember. Or you can do this one, which is this many images and this much money, or you can do this one, which is this many images and this much money. Like, and then that, as soon as I did it, I immediately got busy. And I think that was a combination of that and also the fact that I'd been posting my work really regularly on LinkedIn. Like, those two things together, from like this time last year, it's like a switch just flipped. Like, amazing. And it was steady and it has been like climbing since.
Amazing.
And it's just like, I was fucking mind blown. Like being from like having like 15 quid to all of a sudden you're really busy and like you make a few grand. You're like, what?
Cashish, baby.
Yeah, because like literally at that time, any amount of money is like really, really exciting.
Yeah, especially when you're doing anything.
Yeah.
That's the biggest buzz in the world.
Yeah.
It's fucking addictive. Like, I love it. But so then how long does it take you to like, so you get those pictures. So let's use our boy Louis and James. I don't know why I call him James. James. he does look a bit like the geezer from The Mummy. You know The Mummy?
We can't bully James because I bullied James throughout that whole shoot and we're like not friends anymore.
No, he does. He looks like the guy out of Tarzan. Whatever his name is. He's jokes. But those pictures,
yeah.
Like, what's the process for that, other than, you know, Louis making sure he's got his barnet sorted and he's got his wife beater for the Mayor Street Market all sorted out?
What do you mean, what's the process? Like what? Like,
so, like, as in, how long does it take? So, like, so for example, people ask, and I think you put a post out about it the other day, which was like, people say, oh, is this your real job? Like, is this all you do for a living, or is this your real job? I think people with this just think, oh, it's rock up, have the conversation. I'm talking to people all fucking day. It's like, it's not that at all.
No,
it's like people must think, oh, you know, going to Mayor Street Market, having a jolly, blah, 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 taking the pictures. Like, what's the work people don't see? Do you know what I'm trying to get to?
Oh man, I wish I could tell you there was a lot of it. I'm not sure there is. Like, I'll be real with you.
So you're just taking pictures all day, pretty much?
Yeah, I take pictures and I edit them and that's it. And I really like doing both of those things. On Mondays, I take calls with potential clients.
Yep.
Convert most of them, you know? And
you're reading some sales books, have you?
I mean, I don't do any outbound stuff. Like, I only do inbound. Yeah. So just because my work is very particular, it's very specific. I've never done any outreach. Like, I hate doing it. I don't like it. And I hate when people do it to me, to be quite honest. No offense to salespeople. I know you have to do it, but I don't want to. So yeah, the stuff you don't see, I guess, is like me worrying that like it's all going to go to shit, or like me laying in my bed for like 3 hours, hating my work and my life and thinking that it's shit. And that's it.
So that's the
can't really beat around the bush. Like, what I do is simple. What I do is very simple. Yeah. It's not, for me, it's not difficult. It's easy. And I really love it. Like, I do it because it's fun. It's like, not all of it's easy. Like, sometimes it's hard to get the right shot. But I would be absolutely telling massive fibs if I said that, like, what I do is difficult for me. But I think that's like how you know you're doing something that's good.
That's the Ikigai, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
that's
the Goo Goo Gaga.
Yeah, what's it called?
Ikigai.
Ikigai, yeah, mate. My friend's been on about it. He's read this fucking book, and he's my gym partner. I gym.
Oh yeah.
But he started doing cold plunge. Bought himself a bike, like rides around on a bike and started
in monk mode.
Eating tofu ramen. Yeah. We'll wrap this up shortly, but I'm really enjoying this. I want to talk about. So I think I read somewhere that you went to Austin.
Oh yeah.
What's
about that?
Yeah, what's that? As again, Ryan Holiday's based there. like Rogan's based there. Like everyone's based there. My brain's starting to mush. Not everyone's based there, but like loads of interesting creative people are based there. What's that place like?
So I went for that very reason. I just went there on holiday by myself for like 5 days. Because I was like, man, like, when you go from like being broke to having some money, you're like, well, I want to fucking go and do something. Like, I haven't done anything for like 2 years. Like, let's go and fucking send it, right? Well, a year. I've been to New York, but that didn't fucking count because
that was in your new Manhattan cocoon, basically.
Yeah, I didn't do anything. But like, I was like, I just read the new Elon Musk book by Walter Isaacson.
What's that like?
I mean, I love Walter Isaacson as an author. He wrote the Steve Jobs book. You know,
Did he do Benjamin Franklin as well?
Yeah,
I think he did.
I think so. He also did like Da Vinci and like he did the woman that made the sciencey cell shit. You know, what's her name? Jennifer Doudna.
Who's that?
She's cloning cells to make people like not unwell.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I read the Elon Musk book, and obviously a lot of that was based in like Austin and stuff because Tesla. And then I was tossing up between I either want to go to Austin or LA. So I was like, everyone told me the weather might be a little bit shit in LA at that time of year. So I was like, I'll go to Austin. I loved it, man. It was such a nice place to be.
What's it like comparatively to New York and LA?
Well, New York is a shit show. Like, New York is like every city in the world on acid. Like, it's like just on fucking speed, actually. Like, everything is just like nonstop and constant.
I
and
find
like,
it so dirty as well.
New York is dirty.
I find it fucking disgusting.
I love New York when I'm not doing anything. When I've been there for work, I've hated it. Like, I went there for work in October just because I was like, let's just try it out, see how I like it. I hated it. So I went because it's busy and like constant and like busy. I'm overwhelmed and I was burnt out already. So like that's probably why I hated it. But like, yeah, Austin was great. Austin is fun. Like, I was there by myself. I met a few people like through LinkedIn there, but for most of the time I was just cutting about on my own. I was just like taking myself out for like barbecue, you know, drinking a Lone Star and like some ribs by myself with all the geezers, all the cowboys. I loved it. It was fun. Just walking around, going on a hike. What is there to say? It was great. Everyone in Austin is really friendly. And I think they're the friendliest people I've met in America. Like, the most accepting of me being British as well. Everyone thinks that Americans like British people. That's not always the case. They find us a bit annoying, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talked about briefly there burnout. Like,
oh yeah,
that's what I've found when you're doing the thing that you love. Like, what do people say? It's like you'll never feel like you're doing. If you do what you love, you'll never feel like you're working. There's the hidden danger of that is that you can just be going so hard.
Yeah.
And this happened to me loads of times that you're like, oh fuck, like, because it doesn't feel like work, but I am actually working a lot.
Yeah.
And then the wheels come off and you're like, boom, and it's fucked.
Yeah.
How did you burn out, and then how do you kind of spot the burnout now that you've been through that?
So I burnt out twice. Once a little bit badly, and the second time pretty fucking badly. So the first time it was in like around early October, mid-October, I guess. Like, I just come back from New York, had a shitty time there because I was starting to burn out, and I was just like getting to a point where like everything felt really like nothing. And like everything felt bad, like or felt like nothing. Like, I didn't feel any happiness or like any sadness or anything. Like, I just felt like I was just existing and I was just like moving through the world. And it got to a point, I got home and I was like, had a lot of work on. I was like, it was my first really busy month. I was making real money like I didn't think was possible. Money when if I told my mom, she was like, oh, no way. Like, I'm so proud of you. which like parents don't say unless you've done something like very tangible that they can understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, and I felt like, oh, this is amazing. But it got to a point where I was like, it just all of a sudden just couldn't do it. All of a sudden I was just like in bed and I was like, how did I get here? Like, why am I not doing it? Like, I've never struggled to do this before. Like, why can't I do it? I don't really know how I fixed it that time. I put my prices up like 50 quid or something just to like make a bit more money. I could cut out like a shoot or two a month and make the same, I guess. Like, maybe not. I can't do maths. Whatever. I made it a bit more expensive, but not enough for it to be like insane, but enough for me to notice it, which helped. And other than that, I would just kind of carried on. I didn't deal with it properly that first time. The second time it happened, it was a lot worse. And it happened in February this year. So not that long ago, actually. And basically, at the start of the year, my mum got cancer pretty bad. She's fine now.
Amazing.
I know. I honestly, like, whirlwind cancer journey. She's all right now. But at the time, like, it was pretty shitty and like very unexpected. And I didn't really know how to cope with it. I didn't know at the time that I wasn't coping with it very well, but like I wasn't. And I just threw myself at work because I couldn't go home and see her because she was having chemo and I didn't want to get all my germs from like the tube on her because she didn't have an immune system kind of thing. So I was like, well, I'll just go and absolutely fucking send it then, shall I? Like, I'll just go and absolutely rake it in. What else would nothing I'd rather do. So I really threw myself at it. And it was just me doing everything, obviously. Like, and I was shooting like 2-3 times a day, like Monday to Friday, just constantly on it. Like weekends I would work till like quite late at night editing and like, I don't know, I just didn't stop. Fuck knows what I was doing. Like, I feel like I shouldn't have had that much work to do, but apparently I did because I was always working. And it got to a point where I was like, anytime I wasn't working, I just had to lay in bed. Like, I couldn't do anything else. Like, it was like, I felt so physically unwell. Like, I felt physically sick. I was getting colds, had to cancel shoots because I was like too disgusting to like go. Like, I couldn't move. And yeah, like that carried on for a while until it got to a point where like I'd committed to all of this work, but I couldn't quite do it all. Like I couldn't do it. I was too unwell. Like I couldn't get out of bed. Like I just couldn't physically and mentally bring myself to do anything. I ate toast for a month. I didn't eat anything else. And I'm a person that like loves food. I didn't eat anything except toast for like the whole month of like February. Or like January and February, I don't know. And like, then one day I woke up and I was like, I feel awful. I feel terrible. I had a shoot. So I went. I got to a shoot. I did it. End of the shoot. I was like, I do not feel well. So I like went to go to the bathroom just to like get away. On the way to the bathroom, just pass out.
Fucking hell.
So then my client had to ring my next client I had that afternoon and say, look, Elspeth can't come to your shoot. Like, she's on the floor. Like, she's like not, she's not with us. Like, and then that really kicked me into gear. I was like, this isn't funny. This isn't cute. And this isn't respectable. Like, you can't fucking do that. I mean, it's very normal for me to be mean to myself about it, but like, I was like, you can't do that again. So that's when I made some actual changes and I hired someone to help me, you know, which is a very scary thing to do when you're new and when you don't think you're very good, you know, like bringing someone in to help when you were absolutely broke, you know, like 10 months prior doesn't feel like a safe thing to do because you're like, well, that could all go to shit again. Like, I can very clearly remember when I had 10 quid. Like, it doesn't feel right for me to be paying for someone to do it. But I was like, look, it's actually time. Like, it's actually genuinely time. And so I did that. And then I also booked a holiday again. And I started taking Mondays off to just do calls and not shoot. So I have 4 days of shooting, 1 day of like admin, communications, whatever, that bullshit that I also have to do. And I don't touch any of my invoices. I have someone that does it for me.
Yeah. I've done that. I've got an accountant. His name got the best name. His name's Storm.
Storm!
Absolutely. He's like, yeah. His name's, yeah. But I was like, is that your actual name or is it like
your cool name?
Yeah. I was like, is that your superhero name?
Is that your rapper name?
Yeah. Storm Z, bro. Final kind of question.
Yeah.
Is like, are you at peace at the minute? And like, are you happy? And how do you kind of get that? Big question.
Am I happy and am I at peace? I'm not sure I have the natural disposition for that, to be completely honest. I don't think that's naturally within me.
Yeah, which does actually sometimes make me upset, as the same with me.
I think, although...
But I have to, I'm asking you selfishly.
I think I have to tell myself often that, like, basically I heard on a podcast, to be fair, I heard on Modern Wisdom, because I am a bro, that humans have not evolved, like, with happiness as an important thing. Like it's not something that comes naturally, and it is something that you have to work towards. And I think there's some people that maybe naturally have a little bit more of it and some people that don't. And I think, unfortunately, I'm just one of those people that don't really have it. So I don't often feel happy and I don't often feel at peace, but it's just kind of normal for me and I don't really mind.
The one thing I've been, back to the founders piece, is, have you heard of the book Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb?
No, I haven't.
Fucking sick book, read that. But you're very anti-fragile now because all these things you've been through. But one thing I've noticed with all founders is externally their business, their success is very anti-fragile. Like they build a fucking whopper business. To get that externally, internally, often they're actually quite fragile. By fragile, that they're thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, or they're thinking, I've just got that into weight. I've just got this cup into fucking Sainsbury's. What's the rate of sale doing? Is it going to work? I've got enough money coming in. So you've got this quite internal fragile mechanism.
Yeah.
But it produces insane external results.
Yeah.
Anti-fragile external results. And I think it's just trying to. And I've definitely over the years got better at finding that kind of happiness, and I definitely have found that. But it's not, as I say, it's not that feeling of those chips I've had. But yeah, anyway, look, I've loved that. So good hearing your story, your journey, like very, very, very fucking therapeutic for myself.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. So thank you so much. And yeah, if people want to get their picture snapped, donde está?
What does that mean?
I think I don't know. I just say it a lot. It means like where.
Where?
Like what? Yeah. Head to the show notes, mate.
Yeah.
I'll whack it in the show notes.
Head to the show notes below for my website, elspethvincent.com, or follow me on Instagram, which is at elspeth.vincent, or find me on LinkedIn because I'm actually more famous there. Not very famous though.
Banging. Thank you so much.
Thank you.